It's a crazy thought, right? That all the stuff we do to make our homes energy efficient, the tight seals, the fancy insulation, could actually be making the air inside, well, kind of unhealthy. It's this wild paradox. And in this explainer, we're going to get right into it and figure out what's really going on.
Okay, so let's dive right into this, because it does sound a bit backwards. You spend all this time and money sealing up your home to save on energy bills. But what if you're accidentally trapping yourself inside with a whole cocktail of invisible problems? So what is really going on here?
Well, the biggest issue is actually pretty simple. Our homes just can't breathe anymore. In this big push for energy efficiency, we've basically put our houses in a Ziploc bag. It's fantastic for keeping the temperature just right, but it's awful for air circulation. Think about it. Without a way for the old, stale air to get out and fresh air to get in, everything, from last night's dinner to some pretty nasty pollutants, just gets stuck in there with you.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. The consequences are totally real. We're talking about a buildup of pollutants and moisture that leads to that stuffy feeling, general discomfort, and, yeah, even some legitimate health concerns. So this really sets the stage for the big problems we need to figure out how to solve.
All right, first up, let's tackle what's probably the biggest issue, that invisible cocktail of pollutants just floating around in your home's air. You can't see them, you can't smell them sometimes, but believe me, their impact is definitely not ignorable. So what are we actually breathing in all day? Well, it's a whole mix of stuff. You've got your regular household dust and allergens for sure. Then you have mold spores, which just love those damp conditions. You got smoke and fumes that sneak in from outside. And then there's the sneaky ones, chemicals called VOCs, that are literally coming off your furniture, your paint, even your cleaning sprays. And in a house that can't breathe, all that stuff, it's just stuck. It has nowhere to go.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How do you get fresh air in without letting all your expensive heating or cooling out? You could just open a window, but that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having an energy-efficient home. You're just throwing money out that window, literally. But don't worry, technology has a much smarter answer for us.
And that solution is a system called an ERV, or Energy Recovery Ventilation. The best way to think about it is like a set of lungs for your house. It breathes out all that stale, polluted air and breathes in fresh, filtered air. But here's the really clever bit, the energy recovery part. As the old air goes out, the system grabs the heat and the humidity from it and transfers it to the new, fresh air coming in. So you get all the benefits of fresh air without wasting the energy you've already paid for. It's brilliant.
Okay, so that's the air pollutants. Now, let's talk about a villain that's a bit more visible. I'm talking about excess moisture. Whether it's in your steamy bathroom or a damp subfloor you don't even see, when this stuff gets out of control, it can cause some serious damage. Not just to your house, but to your health, too.
Does any of this sound familiar? The walls are always kind of wet after a shower, there's that persistent musty smell you just can't track down, or you're actually seeing spots of mold. These are all huge red flags. If you just leave it, that moisture can lead to really serious problems, like wood rot in your structure, and it's basically an open invitation for pests like termites.
So for these really high moisture areas, you need a targeted weapon. It's technically called a negative pressure system, but honestly, just think of it as a super-powered, specialized exhaust fan. Its one and only job is to suck that damp, stale air right out of a problem spot, like your bathroom or laundry room, and get it out of the house before it has a chance to spread.
And when I say super-powered, I mean it. The difference is massive. This isn't your standard fan you'd pick up at the local hardware store. No way. A proper system can move over 700 cubic meters of air an hour. To put that in perspective, that's enough power to suck all the steam out of a bathroom after a hot shower in just a couple of minutes. It's a total game changer.
And this same exact moisture problem can happen in a place you probably never even look, the space under your house. A subfloor ventilation system works on the very same principle. It uses those powerful fans and ducts to specifically target and pull that damp, stagnant air right out from under your floors. This is what protects the actual foundation of your home from rot and pests. Super important stuff.
All right, let's switch gears from health and damage to something that's all about comfort. We're talking about that classic household battle, the fight for even heating. You know, the one where the living room is nice and toasty, but the rest of the house feels like an icebox.
If you've got a single big heat source, like a fireplace or a wood heater, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All that beautiful, cozy heat is just stuck in one room, while the bedrooms down the hall are left feeling totally freezing. It's so frustrating.
Well, the solution here is called a heat transfer system, and the idea behind it is just beautifully simple. It basically uses a fan and some ducts
to skim off the excess heat from your warmest room and just pipe it over to the colder rooms. It's all about balancing the temperature and sharing the warmth you already have.
Now, this is a really, really important point to make. This is not a ventilation system. Let me say that again. It does not bring in any fresh air from outside. It is purely an air circulation system. Its only job is to move the air that's already inside your house around more effectively, sharing the heat you've already paid to create. That's it.
Okay, we've covered a lot, haven't we? We've talked pollutants, moisture, and temperature. So now let's pull it all together. I want to give you a simple cheat sheet, basically, so you can see at a glance which solution is the right tool for which job.
Because this is honestly where a lot of people get tripped up. You start hearing all these acronyms, ERV, HRV, heat transfer, and they all start to sound the same, but they do totally different things. So let's break down the real difference nice and simple.
Okay, so first, let's just look at the two systems that actually bring in fresh air. You have the HRV, the heat recovery ventilator. It does exactly what the name says. It recovers heat. Simple. But then you have the ERV, the energy recovery ventilator. This one recovers both heat and moisture. And that little difference, the moisture control, is what makes an ERV perfect for a place with a variable climate, like Melbourne, where you have those humid summers, but also those dry winters.
And this table just lays it all out, nice and clear. So think of it this way. Do you need fresh air? Yes? Okay, then you're looking at an ERV or an HRV. Do you also need to control moisture levels? Yes? Bam, the ERV is your answer. Or are you just trying to move the heat you already have from one room to another? Then you want the heat transfer system. See? Simple. You know, when you boil it all down, all of these different technologies are really about one thing. A home isn't just four walls and a roof, right? It's your environment. It's where you're supposed to be safe and healthy. And making sure that environment is truly healthy, well, that starts with the very air you're breathing every single day.
So there you have it. The paradox is real. Our modern, sealed-up homes create some big challenges for our air quality. But the good news is there are some really smart solutions out there for every single one of them. The health of the air inside your home, it's really in your hands. So now that you know what the options are, the only question left is, what are you going to do about it?